Mary Meet Annie here. The season of Mabon and Impermanence. On the surface, we accept the season of Mabon and the arrival of autumn, and especially its progression through September into October, as a lesson from Earth on impermanence. Daily, we see the landscape changed as falling leaves kiss the ground. The air carries a sigh of letting go, and we're aware of that. Even if we're caught in moments off guard, aware of that. But there is a spiritual practice going deeper that is part of the season. Impermanence, the release of attachment to everything that is as part of this life, is central to the Buddhist practice. And there's a lot there to guide us as we move through the season of impermanence. And Buddhist writings declare that Buddha's last words, his very last words were, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Strive with diligence." His advice was that all things end, and it is how we respond to the arrivals and departures in our lives which define us. In the Buddhist philosophy, suffering is the result of clinging to what moves through our lives. The passings aren't the suffering. It's how we deal with them that is. There's nothing in the guidance of the Buddha that asks us to deny our feelings. Indeed, through the season of Mabon, we're exploring them deeply. Life is to be experienced fully in both its joys and sorrows, but each of their moments then moves on, and we let go, or we try to. The trees around me each year, living as I do in the woods, are very Buddha-like this time of the year. They remind us, as Buddha taught, that only by releasing attachment can we then see the true nature of things. Each day, when the limbs of the trees surrounding me become more and more revealed, I think of the teachings that the true nature of things are being revealed. And when I walk in the woods and feel the earth beneath me differently, covered in both a softness and a crispness of newly fallen leaves, I can feel as the old ones taught that the earth is a temporary abode. I'm separated from the soil by a buffering layer of what the trees have released. Truly, nothing feels the same. And I think, as I have for so many autumns, who am I in the midst of this constantly shifting universe? And I begin my journey inward. The journey that is the path of late autumn through winter. During that time, I will explore, if I dare, the true nature of myself. Each step is a releasing of attachment to the outer world. That world is still there for inspiration and nurturance, as are the loved ones in my life and everyone who is part of my wider circle of living. But this is the time to explore, who am I separate from everything that is outside of me. When I was younger, I struggled with the concept of the outer world not defining who my true self was. Well, perhaps now that I am older and sometimes think of what of me will move on when I move on and what of me will remain behind, I think I'm finally beginning to understand part of what Buddha taught. The words of Suzuki Roshi are part of my meditations this time of the year. Actually, they're more than that. They are my meditations at this time of the year, and they have been for my entire adult life. Suzuki's book, Zen Mind, was the first book I read on Buddhism, and it had a profound impact on my life and on my spiritual practice. It was an intriguing read for me, as I was totally immersed in the joy of my first pagan circles and celebrating life in a very earthy and transformative way. The balance of Suzuki's teachings through that book and others that he wrote was in even in the greatest of my newfound joy. There was a reality to it that was transient. It didn't challenge me to be more serious about adult life. It was the 60s and the 70s, and that's not where my mind was, but it challenged me to fully immerse myself in that moment and then to let it go. To experience fully and step forward into whatever came next. When I had my first opportunities to be with that philosophy during traumatic life experiences, I was transformed in ways I could not have expected. I realized that there were keys to who I was in the emotional highs and lows in life, but that it was indeed my release of them that led me to explore the true nature of life and myself. Suzuki Roshi summarized the feeling of letting go that I return to in my meditations each autumn, simply as everything is, and this is what he says, not always so. The lesson of falling leaves, of shifting forms, of light and shadow, and of what each day brings here in the woods and in life. Moment to moment. Not always so. This is Mahasukha, the great peace in the Buddhist tradition. The peace of letting go. Completely letting go. I wish you all mirth and reverence in the season of letting go. Merry part.